2009, Nigeria faced the emergence of the Boko Haram sect, which posed a threat to the nation. The northeast region became the epicenter of this devastating insurgency, resulting in widespread destruction, the displacement of millions, and the ruin of vital infrastructure, homes, and businesses. In response, the Northeast Development Commission was established in 2017 to tackle both the immediate and long-term needs of the affected communities. This evening, we sit down with the Minister of State from the Ministry of Regional Development, who will share insights into the Commission's ongoing efforts to address the urgent needs and aspirations of the people in this region. Hello and welcome to Newsnight, sir.
Thank you, and I'm glad you're having me.
Thanks for accepting our invitation.
Anytime.
We're grateful. Now, I would like to start from the top.
Yeah.
I would like to understand the primary goals of the Ministry of Regional Development.
Good. The Ministry of Regional Development was created by Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, exactly on the 23rd of October last year. As for reasons for creating the ministry, principally it was anchored on the belief, genuine one, as far as we are concerned, for development, take development down to the grassroots. You know that Nigeria exists on structures of the federal government, the subnational, the states, and the local governments. And while campaigning, we went around the country making promises on things we want to deliver. Some of these things, not all these things we promised are deliverable at the federal level. Some at the subnational level, and some, like you rightly know, will be at the local government levels. And in its wisdom, which we subscribe to, it is important that we have this ministry, the Ministry of Regional Development, so as to take development down to the grassroots where it is needed most. And especially that you probably would have noticed that in recent years, 3-5 years down the line, there have been agitations around the country about uneven development around the country. And he thought, and he still thinks, and we subscribe to that this ministry is probably the best bullet to solve these development gaps. So in a nutshell, the ministry was created essentially to meet development targets by the federal government of Nigeria under Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government.
Okay, but this will mean they're working with the other layers of government?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. We don't operate in silos. Of course, dealing with states, you don't just go into states. You know there are governors in states. We are supposed to collaborate with the governments and even community leaders and engage them on a needs assessment so that we don't work at cross purposes of each other. If there are demands or there are priorities, security, for instance, and you go building dams where they are not their priorities, for instance, will be wasting funds.
Yeah.
And so it is very important to collaborate in achieving these goals.
Okay, so if you can help us from your vantage point, what would you say are the greatest challenges that are facing regional development in Nigeria right now?
Well, they are varied, if you ask me. For instance, if you take the Northeast, where we come from, you know that the Northeast Development Commission has been there now for 6 years, and you know the challenges that gave rise to the setting up of the commission. Most of the issues are gone, been solved naturally, and some by proactive actions. So, for the Northeast, you will see the challenges were security, giving credit to our military, gallant military. They've decimated and decapitated the insurgents. Where they are now is actually just at the level of stealing, coming into settlements to take advantage of vulnerable communities, steal their food crops and their animals. But essentially, they have been degraded. So for the Northeast, it was security. Now we are going around the issues around resettlement of displaced communities, providing infrastructure that were destroyed during the insurgency, infrastructure around health, education, and such other sectors. Basically, that is what is ongoing in the Northeast. For the Northwest, the issues around there, around banditry,
Yeah.
cattle rustling, kidnap for ransom, especially around Katsina, Zamfara axis. But thank God, all the issues are going down. We've not gotten to the ideal situation we would have wanted, but we're thanking God for the successes we've recorded so far. So I would say that the challenges, like I said in the beginning, are multifaceted, and of course, you will have to add funding to the list, because we can never get enough for all the issues we have to deal with.
Okay, so I would like you to please do some sort of clarification on the issue of security.
Yeah.
Is that all across the Northeast?
No.
Because, there were hotbeds.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
Borno was a key.
Borno was like the epicenter
Yes.
of the crisis.
Yeah, but there were also
Yes.
so what's this? Yeah. So what's the
into-
situation?
Into Yobe and
Adamawa.
sometimes into Adamawa
Yes.
around Mubi side, but Taraba was insulated largely from the crisis. But as we speak, I would say even Borno, the epicenter, because I've virtually been to Borno every other year since 2000, and at intervals of 2 months or so. So I can say, as a matter of fact, that even Borno, that used to be the epicenter of the insurgency, is safe. You can take my words for that to the bank. You, as a journalist, you can find out, you have your sources. It's safe. Like I said in the beginning, just pockets of little incursions into communities to take advantage of them, like I mentioned earlier.
Okay, so that means to a large extent the NEDC is having almost clear access to do what it is they want to do.
Oh, yes. There are no inhibitions any longer.
Okay.
Of course, there are, like I said, there are priority areas. Some places are inaccessible, not because of security now, because for long years of the abandonment, despoliation, and we'll have to restore infrastructure. For instance, where there used to be bridges and they have been blown off, and people don't stay there now because of the crisis, they move to some other safer communities. For them to get back to their communities, you will need to build those bridges to connect them. Basically, there are farming communities around there. So if they do make attempts to go back, that will mean having to be secluded from the larger community when the rains start coming. I hope you understand the scenario.
I understand because I was even at Berniadi. Just as you said, the bridges all along that route had been blown up.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was a deserted town. I don't know. Are you saying those places now?
Those places are reconnected.
Okay.
In fact, we have a project on ground as we speak. We've gone past, you go through stages.
Yes.
It's at the last stage now. We are taking on a total of 14 of such bridges between Gombe State, Borno, Yobe, and Taraba. Bauchi doesn't have too much of those cases. But of course, because the NEDC caters for 6 states fairly, we've also captured areas of need in Bauchi State. As a matter of fact, in the next 2 weeks maximum, we should be off the ground on dealing with those issues, strictly speaking, on 12 to 14 bridges across the 6 states of the Northeast. Part of a strategy of putting back infrastructure to communities that have been cut off through the natural disaster, and in some instances, criminality out of the insurgency.
Okay, so we have, for the north, we have the NEDC.
Yeah, for the northeast.
Northeast.
Yeah.
We have the northwest.
Northwest Development Commission for the northwest.
Now, I know the NEDC has been on ground, like you said, 6 years.
For 6 years. Yeah.
How well is the NWDC going?
Well, it's just coming on board.
Yeah.
We just got the management inaugurated about a month ago.
Okay.
They have a management team on ground. But of course, like all new commissions, they have little challenges here. We're trying to get round the issues about the headquarters.
Accommodation.
Situated accommodation. The headquarters is in Kano. Talking to the right people in government who are in charge of those issues. And we're putting heads together along from the ministry's point of view and, of course, the management team to solve those problems. First of all, to get them off the ground, get the offices. They will need to do the recruitment of their staff, basic staff they need to do the work. Then we move into the main thing, the development projects for the Northwest Commission. You probably forgot that the North Central got its own commission, headquartered in Lafia, Nasarawa State, for the same purpose, to address development gaps in the North Central.
How is that set up?
No, like the Northwest Commission is a step ahead of the North Central.
Okay.
Why? Because the North Central hasn't gotten its management team yet. And of course, the government is on top of the situation and it's consulting widely to put the right people in charge of the commission so that we take off full steam.
Okay, so let me... recently, I understand you traveled to Borno on a walk-in visit. I would like to understand what was your finding on ground from that visit.
Very good one. You see, the Ministry of Regional Development is in charge of the commissions. Our primary responsibility is to oversight the commissions. I probably do not know yet that we are two ministers here. My colleague, Engineer Abubakar Momo, is in charge of the commissions in the south.
Okay.
While I have been saddled with looking after the commissions in the north. So it was in the same vein, the same spirit that we wouldn't just sit in the office and be oversighting the commission. So we had to go out for physical on-spot assessments of all the projects we have on paper, like going to see for ourselves what they've been doing. And I will say that it was an eye-opener. We not just only went to Maiduguri, the capital, and of course where the Commission's headquarters is. By the way, there is a brand new headquarters for the NEDC that's being constructed as we speak. But that wasn't the major or the star attraction. We went to see for ourselves the development projects we have in a document submitted to us when we assumed office. And these projects cut across agric, health, education, economic development, infrastructure, all sorts. We spent 2 days, 2 nights, I would say. And it was, by my assessment, it was a successful trip because we were taking around all the major projects in Borno State. We were supposed to do Borno and Yobe, but we had to cut short for emergencies here in Abuja. Some of the things we had to deal with, so we returned. But we still have to do Yobe. Then we go take Gombe, Bauchi before we do Adama and Taraba, simply for logistics reasons. But like I said, the projects we saw were real life-changing projects. I will give you a few instances. You probably have forgotten about a community called Zabarmari.
I can't say I've even heard of it.
Unfortunately, that was where some farmers, rice farmers, like it's a rice farming community.
Okay. Yes, I remember now.
The farmers were slaughtered,
Yes.
unfortunately, about 3 years ago. That community has been changed completely. How has it been changed? There is a brand new road constructed from the actual village where the massacre happened, linking them to the major highway towards Mafa. Mafa is the local government headquarters nearest to the place. Why am I saying so? Because the insurgents then took advantage of the difficult terrain. It's a busy community, they are farming. Most of them even migrated from up north to farm there because of the fertile soil. And unfortunately met there. So the government, in its immediate response, gave out a contract to construct a road. It's a beautiful road network that opens up the whole area such that the farmers now access their farms easily. I wish you were on the trip to see the beautiful terrain. In fact, the soil doesn't need fertilizers. That's just by the way. So there's a brand new road now with connecting bridges, making it easy for them to move their food crops from their farms to markets. That is one area government is directly intervening in the lives of communities by putting in place critical infrastructure to aid their chosen lifestyles. One of such projects. We also saw gigantic dredgers that were purchased by the commission. To do what? To clear up canals, open up blocked waterways so that the communities can return to their farms, use the water for feeding the animal and engaging their agricultural activities. We also visited Farmer Grade, a very beautiful project conceived by the NEDC too. And what is it about? In collaboration with the Borno State government. The project is all about drugs, pharmaceutical drugs. Because of the issues around the insurgency, like we said earlier, some communities have been cut off. They decided to have a central drug store to connect so that they will be distributing centrally from Maiduguri. But the beauty of it is that the Farmer Grade is a whole complex, like a warehouse, fitted with their gadgets and their equipment to keep the drugs in good order, cooling temperature all around, all year, such that they control distribution of the drugs from the central location all across 27 local governments of Borno State. And I think that is a very good one. And I also would like to see the other remaining states replicate that, because drugs and health go together. If you have doctors and good hospitals and you have drugs that are not certified, and I don't think it's good enough. So that is one signature project that I think is worth looking at seriously.
Okay. Are they doing anything about education? Because in Borno, education was a key factor for even the security.
I wish you have the benefit of seeing the beautiful schools in Borno State. This time, the state government and the NEDC, all the schools, they have about the same models. For the NEDC, there are the mega schools they built as a direct response. You know, the Boko Haram insurgency is all about no education, no Western education, and stuff like that. So in direct response to the shenanigans, the NEDC is putting gigantic mega schools in 3 stories in communities whose schools have been destroyed. And they are littered all over the states, all across the Northeast. So education, like I said, education, health, agri, and infrastructure are main thrust of the issues the Commission is dealing with, not forgetting economic development. There are so many life-improving programs ongoing in support of the people of the Northeast so that they get back to their normal lives in their places of residence.
You had mentioned earlier one challenge is the issue of funding.
Yeah.
How is the NEDC addressing that?
Well, the funding is not the challenge. I meant was not in the region of not accessing funds. No, You know, they have a straight line of access there. It's well defined. The sources of
Yes.
there's the statutory grants. They have the one from the VAT flow,
Straight.
and by the law establishing the commission, it is empowered to access grants, gifts, and even loans. And they are doing that already, so there are no issues. The aspect I wanted to speak about is, like I said before, you never can have enough
True.
funds to do. With the humongous challenges we have on ground, there will never be a situation where it will have enough funds to do the work we need to do. That is the angle from which I meant when we spoke about funding. But on the whole, we are managing very well the resources and applying them strategically to areas of need. So I wouldn't say we have challenges in that respect. But of course, we want to have more money so that we can do more work.
Okay, now, one of the issues I think, if I remember correctly, after the insurgency and all, had to do with resettlement.
Yes.
People who didn't feel secure enough to go back, and even when they went back, there were no government structures or presence to give them the confidence that they were back. How is the NEDC dealing with the issue of resettlement?
It is dealing with it very well. I'll give you one example too. There's this community in Borno State. I keep going back to Borno because that's the first state that I have visited, so that you don't miss it. Yes, there's this community also in Mafa local government. Incidentally, that is where the governor comes from, Governor Zulum. The community is called Ngom in Mafa local government. The NEDC built 1,000 houses, 1,000, not 100. 1,000 houses into 2 bedrooms and a sitting rooms, with, of course, taking the cultural needs of the people and the architectural design. It's a whole complex, and it was built essentially to resettle people that were displaced around the communities. So like the small villages around there were brought together in one estate, made up of 1,000 houses. And there are many of such settlements around Borno State, where you have 500 in some places, and not less than 100 houses in any of those resettlement quarters or estates, I would say. So housing is one of key areas the NDC has responded very well in direct response to the needs of the people, especially in displaced communities.
Okay, so let me take you to one initiative that I think has been very interesting, and I think drew a lot of attention to NEDC. The issue of electric vehicles.
Very well.
And when everybody heard, they were like, electric vehicles in Borno or in the northeast. How is that going?
Yeah, it's going on very well. Like they say, big things come in small measures. No one probably expected it to come from Borno. Probably they are looking at Oyo, Lagos, cosmopolitan centers, most likely people to. But for us in the Northeast, we don't like to take the back seat. And then the NEDC has shown the way, direct response to issues of climate change, emission of gases, reducing carbon footprint. And that is why the project was conceptualized. You will be asking why. The Northeast is far from, cut off from the rest of the, you can imagine the distance between Lagos and Maiduguri. So in direct response to our needs, these are people that are coming out of crisis situation. You don't see filling stations in places like Mongono, for instance. Why? Logistic reasons. We spoke about broken bridges and issues like that. And going with international best practices. The world is moving away from hydrocarbon.
True.
So why not? We just factored that, taking our situation into consideration, and we evolved a system of mobility that takes out the need for carbon completely. And it comes with a price too. You know that you gain carbon credit when you reduce emission. So going ahead, the NEDC conceptualized this project, and Mr. President graciously approved the purchase of. They are coming in different models. There are big buses, there are mini buses, there are small ones in the mold of like for mini transportation, but more improved means of transportation in the mold of the ones we call Keke Marwa or Keke Napep. But these ones are customized to convey 9 to 10 passengers.
Okay.
And they are a grade ahead of the regular ones you see.
Let's take a short break. When we return, we'll find out how the ministry ensures the issues of education and climate change is addressed in the region. Take from your perspective, you've spoken very passionately about the work NEDC is doing. What would you say has been your biggest lessons so far that you've picked up coordinating this agency? Personally, what have you found that as you try to coordinate the activity?
The biggest, I would say, is the fact that Nigeria is a beautiful country. We should be proud of our country. This country is blessed with enormous resources and wonderful people too. This has afforded me the opportunity to interact with people from across Nigeria. I have met people from the South, because we, as a ministry, we sit together, irrespective of who takes care of whichever commission. I've had the benefit of interacting with people from across, outside of familiar terrain areas that I am used to. And at the end of it all, you realize that we are just one people, like Mr. President has always said. We're one house bed living in different rooms. And to me, that's the beauty, the most important thing for us in the country, the unity, that which binds us. The things that bring us together are greater than those little imaginary fault lines that we often look at. So I would say that my biggest takeaway on this so far is the unity of this country, the opportunity to do something progressively, to put something on ground. I think it's been the most important takeaway for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to understand from you how you or the ministry tackles interagency or interministerial coordination and cooperation.
Very, very well. When we came on board, as a matter of fact, we developed a roadmap, plan of action, and timelines too, which we want to implement all these things. And one of the things we clearly marked out or itemized to do was definitely you can't do this job alone. We identified ministries, first of all, that we'll need to collaborate with to achieve our set targets. We undertook interactive sessions, first of all, with the Ministry of Agric and Food Security. You know that agric is the mainstay of the economy of the North completely, whether it's Kogi or it's Kano, it's all the same. So we first of all took this step and met the Honorable Minister, Senator Obakar Kyari, a wonderful gentleman. And we interfaced as a ministry-to-ministry collaboration. Of course, the technocrats amongst us put in place a small committee that will continue the interface so that we take what we need from agric and balance with what we have, the Ministry of Regional Development, and transmit it to the ground. as one of our deliverables. We've done that already, and we have a community to follow up on the issues that we identified we needed to collaborate with. Then, of course, we moved on to the Ministry of Housing. When you asked about housing needs, I'm like, okay, we also identified Minister of Housing with Architect Angiwa, the Honorable Minister. We also had a meeting with that, and we had the same model we had with Minister of Agri. The idea is to synergize so that we break down all the barriers that are possibly going to inhibit our work one way or the other. So we have 9 of such ministries we have identified that as collaborators. Those we, because of our mandate, will need to work with in actualizing our mandate. And it's still ongoing for ministries. And we also have agencies like NEMA and many other in such categories that we are dealing with in line with our mandate. But it doesn't stop there. We have international donor organizations like JICA, Japanese. We were there, we've collaborated, we have a working agreement. We intend to meet the Bill and Melinda Foundation, Ike Omokode Foundation, BOA Foundation, the Qatar Fund, and the Kuwait Fund. Those are international donor agencies that we have marked down, we intend to interface with to access either grants or whatever we can get in line with our mandate to take back to our areas of operation.
But another important part in the structure is the people themselves.
Yes.
There are a lot of times where it's assumed that as being the one with the funds, you know what the people need.
No.
So you go and then just put projects. How does the NEDC and your ministry ensure that these are the needs? Everybody has preference of needs. You have a table of needs, but there are some that are more important than others. How do we ensure that these projects that are selected actually are the ones the people want?
I told you earlier, maybe you skipped your memory.
Yes.
Said in the beginning that, first of all, we do needs assessment.
Okay.
And how do we do that? We engage community. For states, we interface with the states. We don't just drop into their spaces and start doing things.
Not the state. I'm not talking of the states.
Okay,
I'm talking of the communities and the people
Of
themselves.
course, there is a department in charge of that solely to get feedback from the communities. It's headquartered in Maiduguri, in the commission's headquarters. And it's the same. The laws establishing all the other commissions. It is very important to do needs assessment. You don't just throw projects at people. You will have to do needs assessment, first of all, to know what they need, their priorities. We spoke this direction at the beginning. If it's a health facility they're in need of, instead of a water point or something like that, you address what they need. So, in a nutshell, we do needs assessment. Like I said, we have a whole department in charge of that to take from the community their priorities. What are their needs? Then we tailor them to what they need. I will also want to use this opportunity to tell you one beautiful thing that came out of this needs assessment. On this bit that we've been now for 4 months, in our interaction with communities through the structure, we came out with the project that this is a project around, it's a health facility project, it's a children and women hospital. And the idea is to make sure that we put in 2 of such facilities, at least in every senatorial zone, between the northeast, the northwest, and the north central. Why women and children? Our checks revealed that they are the most vulnerable. Women in terms of birth and children, outcomes of birth. And, we thought that as a very critical point of intervention, we should put high quality health facilities specifically for women and children in at least 2 of such facilities in at least every senatorial zone in all the 3 geopolitical zones of the north. And that is on our table. By the grace of God, when it takes off the ground, our vision is to make sure that we not only build structures, we put in the best equipment, and of course we have the best trained health professionals to manage those facilities. And it's a whole lot. It's supposed to be even off-grid completely with renewable energy sources, such that it doesn't have to go through this problems of sometimes you don't have funds and issues like that. You have drugs to preserve in the refrigerators and you don't have electricity, especially in some the locations. There are still places that are not connected onto the national grid. So to cut that out, we conceptualize in such a way that it will run on renewable energy sources to run the hospitals. And it's on our table. And believing God, very soon you will see one of such signature projects put on ground.
Okay, so let me take you on one issue that a lot of people feel is becoming more and more of an issue. Just as you said at the beginning, the Northeast had, when the Northeast Development Commission came up, it was to address the aftermath
of the insurgency
and the devastation caused by the insurgency. But between then and now, and even before the commission came up, the issue of climate change and its effect in that region, talk of Lake Chad and all that, it's becoming more and more of an issue. What is the NEDC trying to, how are they doing to address that?
Before we come to climate change, lest I forget, when we mentioned aftermath of the insurgency, just on this last trip we took to Maiduguri, we went to a school, and I think it's important Nigerians know this, not even because of the government's involvement, but as a social responsibility as human beings. There are orphans of the insurgency, children whose parents were lost in the insurgency. Incidentally, the ones we saw numbered like 600, and they lost both parents. Not many people know that there are such children in this country. And through the instrumentality of government, collaboration with the NEDC, the Nigerian Army set up a school. It's the government command science secondary school for boys, all made up of orphans from the insurgency, 600 of them. The NEDC has taken up full responsibility of training these children. Who knows? One amongst them could be the president of this country. And I want to give kudos to Mr. President for bringing out the humanity out of
devastation.
Ordinarily, no one would remember that there are children because of everyone is going about his business. But government is taking care. Tuition, 100%. They don't pay anything from uniforms, school consumables, and everything. They're there. It used to be located in a place called Auno, but they were moved to Maiduguri, and currently they are in a site, and the government is putting structures, additional structures, to make their life comfortable. They are taken care of by the NED. So of course, command schools are run by the Nigerian Army. They still run that, but with full support of the government through the Northeast Development Commission. I thought it's important to mention that so that Nigerians know that there are children of the insurgency, orphans actually, of the insurgency, who are human beings and need help. Going back to your question on climate change.
Yes.
You know the Lake Chad region, you know its topography, you know the issues. It's the worst hit when it comes to climate change as we speak in Nigeria. At a point in time, you know that the water body in the Lake Chad was almost depleting.
Yes.
But through God's mercy, it's recharging, and through natural processes, But we are not just waiting for Godot, so to speak. God is intervening, the water bodies are recharging, but government is doing its part too through the Northeast Development Commission. I told you that one of the things we saw on ground were dredging machines, very huge dredging machines, gigantic dredging machines that were procured by the Northeast Development Commission, principally to work on the Lake Chad area, that said, in direct response to the issues around climate change, drying up of water bodies. And you use those dredgers and equipment to open up canals and to also build dams. You need such huge equipment. And they are doing that. You will have to take a trip to actually see for yourself, because 1 hour is not enough to give you a general overview of the wonderful work the Commission is doing there across the sectors. So, addressing climate change issues, e-mobility is there, and even the architecture deployed to structures in the region takes cognizance of climate change issues. Climate change is real, and our responsibility is to ensure that we align with international best practices in addressing these issues. I will say that we are doing tremendously good around climate change issues in the Lake Chad region, but we can still do more, and hopefully we will get there.
We will. Let me now take you up on the perception, some say, is reality.
Yeah.
And the oldest one of the development commissions right now, the NDDC, has had a reputation in the past.
Really?
Of corruption. There were allegations, there were reports to be written and all that. Now, the one would like to understand, how are you ensuring that for the NEDC and the ones that are coming up, the commissions that have been set up, that we will not have such issues come up?
Well, when you said allegations around corruption,
yes,
as a lawyer, I will tell you that he who alleges must prove. Not like speaking for them, I'm not the mouthpiece of the commission, but there is an institution on ground to take care of that.
Yes.
If you know this government has zero tolerance for corruption, complete aversion to corrupt practices, I would advise that should there be such issues, the citizenry have
enough to.
They know where to go to. So on our own, on my own part, I will just say that I have not received, as at now, I have not received any complaint formally about corruption.
Yes.
And when we do, we have our channel of communication on how to deal with it. But so far, I haven't received any. I wouldn't say it's not possible. Like I said, I am not speaking for the NEDC, but as Minister of State in charge of the NEDC, we have not received any such complaints yet. But should they come, we'll do the needful and we'll tackle them. But I will tell you for free that we don't condone corruption completely. There's no room for corruption, especially more so in an agency that's been set up to tackle people's problems.
Yes.
I think it's the least expected to be corrupt. But should it arise, I give you my words that we'll deal with it when it does come. But it's not something you hope to see, or it's not a pleasant thing to expect. But all the same, as a responsible government, when it does come up, I assure you that we'll do the needful and tackle it the way it should be.
Okay, I appreciate that you were given a task by the president, and it's one you'd want to do your best to try and achieve.
Yeah.
What would you like to leave behind as your legacy when you look at the time you would have spent coordinating these development agencies?
Well, first of all, I would also want to thank Mr. President for, as Bola mentioned, for giving us this opportunity. Nigeria is a country of over 250 million people. Coming from the Taraba state, often referred to as the backwaters of this country, and from another village in a town, not a village now, I come from Donga, and a state with over 3 million people, and I get the opportunity, not like I'm the best person there, to serve in this government. It's wonderful. I want to thank God and thank Him for this opportunity. But answering your question, yes, we are giving tax. Everyone has a specific tax assigned to them, and we are measured by this tax. We are constantly being reviewed and assessed based on our tax. We have a delivery team, I'm sure you know, which is responsible with following up on our tax. We also undertook and signed a bond with our government on those tax that we were given. And it is on those tax that will be measured. I would want to believe or pray that by the time I leave here, either tomorrow, next year, God knows when. By the time I leave, I will hope to be remembered for tangibles. We have a whole lot that we have planned to do. I will give you just 1, 2, 3, 4 for time. We envision a Northeast. I will give you for all the regions. We envision a Northeast which has a thriving airline, the Northeast Airline. And it's possible. We are working on it. As we speak, we are engaging consultants at advanced level now, working on the Northeast Airline. Of course, we're not going to do it alone. Like I said, we'll engage the state governments. And the idea we have is to put resources together, little resources. You don't need to bring all the monies now to engage in any business. We're talking with some facilitators from Germany and Oman who are supposed to bring in the critical equipment component in a wait list arrangement. When we set up the holding company, the Northeast is supposed to have an airline, hopefully, by the time we leave. Besides the airline, we are working also on a Northeast Rail, which is supposed to run around the Northeast states and connect to Calabar eventually. That is our program. That is on transport and the infrastructure around transport. We're also working on a Northeast Power Company using available dams. We have one in Dadinkoa in Gombe State. We have another one in Kiri in Adamawa State. And we are talking to experts, this time from Germany as well. Even a few days ago, it was on Friday, we met with some of them on the power. We are trying to agree on the best model to access. Technology evolves. And while we're thinking of hydro, someone is bringing in a plasma technology using water as well to produce electricity and CNG in the process too. So we are talking on that. Like I said, we're working on a Northeast Airline. We're working on a Northeast Rail. We're working on a Northeast Power Company. These are signature projects that, God willing, I would want to have on ground as a legacy by the time I exit as Minister of State for Regional Development. That is for the Northeast. For the Northwest, we have wonderful programs around agri, revitalizing the economy through agri. We're looking at the grains, the groundnut pyramids.
To see how we can get them back.
Bringing them in line with today's realities. What can we do? Not like just going back to the old days, cultivating groundnuts and piling them up in the pyramids. No, we are moving a step ahead, taking it to processing, taking the full value chain to empower our people economically, to bring back their prosperity, days of prosperity built around agri-economy. We're also looking at the opportunities around dams and irrigation, sprinkler irrigation. We've spoken with people in Morocco. The last time I was there for Nigeria-Morocco Business Summit, we spoke with some people in line with that. We are working on a whole lot of projects around skin tanning and tanneries and things we used to do, but doing them in a better and modern way now to empower the people, like I said, to revive the economy of the regions and, God willing, restore our people's prosperity. Those are the kind of things I would want to leave as a legacy by the time we exit. And I pray God gives us the time and the good health to achieve those things. Even if we don't do all, at least we should have put in place critical or like maybe 70% of what we need to do to actualize all these programs. But we want to see them through. And we pray God helps us to see this through. Those are the kind of things I would want to be remembered or to leave as legacy, such that it doesn't just appear like, okay, you are appointed minister, you come and you just leave and you don't have anything. It's the same with all of my colleagues. This cabinet is filled with wonderful professionals from diverse backgrounds, and we are all geared up. Everyone is looking towards the same direction, trying to do the best in his corner to take Nigeria back to where it should be.
And I think that's a prayer for most Nigerians. Most Nigerians want to see Nigeria back to a place of pride.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure.
The pleasure is mine. We'll do it again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, a lot appears to be going on to rehabilitate the Northeast, and I'm sure a lot remains to be done. Let's get your reactions and comments to this discussion. Our social media handles and email address is on the screen. Do you want to play back any episode? Just go to Channels TV on YouTube, search for Newsnight on the playlist, and select. Well, thanks for staying with us on the program tonight. Good night.